This is part 2 of October. My battery went dead. I'm sorry for that. I should have paid attention to the little widget telling me that. But so there's some thing about positive critical thinking is positive solutions. Well, let's make a better world, better place for the future, and let's just not pick and poke and throw insults and mud at each other and without any actual solutions to problems. So I'm going to try to add that in each one, and maybe you could add stuff in too. And one of them, if you study law, I'm a paralegal for New York State. I did some legal research, and I'm not an attorney, but I'm close to one, as far as I have a certificate as a paralegal. And I did a lot of research in federal Supreme Court. It was a hobby for a while. There's one case called New York Times versus Sullivan, or Sullivan versus New York Times, I think, yeah, from the late 1800s, about libel. And they decided, the Supreme Court at that time, that no person under free speech could be prosecuted or held civilly responsible for lies or libel, character assassination against another person in the United States, which I think is absurd. People could just go on and make up stories and lies about anybody, especially in politics, as we could see. It doesn't matter if they're true or not. Just say it and throw it out there and confuse everyone and manipulate people like sheeple or lemmings or whatever you want to say. They go off the cliff. So in Europe and the EU, especially England, they had libel laws. And it was under British common law, I believe, which we based our country on. I think that should be another amendment. Now, that's another thing I tell people. These right-wing, conservative, whatever you want to call these people. Some of them are good intention and nice people. There's good and bad. There's crazies on left and right. I'm a middle person. I don't go either. I balance myself. So what we have is that you could do that and make up lies and ruin people, and it's not right. So amendments, from the First Amendment to the 27th, like the 13th was no slavery. The second is to have guns for every law-abiding citizen to protect themselves. I agree with that. These were changes and additions made to the original Constitution. So they're not conservative. They were progression by progressives to add in new things to make it a better place, and solutions like the 14th to give everyone equal rights, no matter what color, religion they were. That wasn't part of it. So how is it that this libel thing? We should consider asking our leaders to add that in, or like reverse the Sullivan case, the Roe versus Wade. Every 4 years, the same argument over the abortion, which is a sensitive, horrible topic. I admit, it's hard to talk about. I have mixed feelings. It's very hard. If you're not religious and you're a secular person, you have the right to do that, and no religious group should be able to tell you otherwise. And that's what the country was founded upon, that no religious group is going to control human beings here, which I'm all for. You have the right to follow your own theology and religion on your own course, but then you shouldn't force religious people who are against abortion to pay taxes and money to do the abortion. So that's, I agree. It's a very tricky deal. But to stop stem cell research, and they don't use babies to make stem cell genetics. It's a silly sophomoric nonsense that I don't know where that even comes from. They use cord blood. They use other things, placenta. They don't use fetus parts. I see stuff online that's just beyond insane that people are saying that obviously never have an education in science or... Anyway, I won't go into that, but it's not their fault, really. They're just... Like I said, when you went into a library at a university, or a high school, or a public library, there was two signs. One was like fiction, and one was non-fiction. And they also had men's and women's. Now they have LGBT bathrooms, so they actually have 3. So there's actually 5 signs, right? But non-fiction and fiction. So the internet, and I call it GoofTube, which is good and bad on everything, doesn't have these guides. So people go on and don't really know what to believe. they'll listen to some quacky doctor talking about drinking, was it Miracle Solution, which is like Clorox and water, and they arrested a few of these guys. Some kooky stuff about flat Earth or chemtrails, or I don't know. You follow what I'm saying. So I don't even get involved in them conversations. It's just like, what are we doing here? It's like not the 13th century. What are you talking about? And I just kind of walk away. But one of the things is this thing with the libel. Now, the EU and England has, that you can't go around slandering and just saying things without any recourse to the other person to say, hey man, you got to stop that or you're going to pay. Even if it's true, unless, of course, the person's a terrorist, a murderer, a rapist, something like really serious. I understand to warn the public that this guy, a person, is a danger to the people, or a scandalous con man in the stock market. Okay, if it's true and you have proof, then that's understandable. But not just to say things and throw it out there on major news and destroy people or stain their background, like they've been doing to like the Kavanaugh guy. Now they're doing it to this nice woman with children, this judge. And I'm not a Republican. I'm just saying, I don't, even Ginsburg or anybody that gets put in, I'm not going to sit there and try to tear them apart and say 50 years ago they pinched somebody's butt. Do you remember in high school when you got caught with beer and you were peeking into the girls' locker room 50 years ago? I mean, come on. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? Let's come up with positive solutions. And one positive solution is to ask your representatives, senators, congressmen, to consider another amendment, which would be a libel law against false, harmful, dangerous. In the Talmud, it's called Lashon Hara, which is evil gossip and evil speech. It's equal to murder in Jewish law. In fact, Yom Kippur is basically about Lashon Hara. The Second Temple was destroyed because of Lashon Hara. Evil speech against a fellow human being is equal to murder. Embarrassing them in public. You're not supposed to do that. And if you think about it, wars have started, murder, jealousy, all these things happen because of the speech. I mean, let's think about it. I mean, there's books on this. Not to sound all religious and stuff, I'm staying towards the secular side as well. It's kind of common sense that, I mean, it's not nice, it's not right, it's not ethical, moral to go and just make up lies about people, and so you can get a better advantage over them. That's basically one of the things I had to say. I want to try to end these with a positive solution and not just sit here and talk about viruses and politics and money. Forget all that. We've got to make a better world for the future, because what was the purpose of life? This is one of the questions we asked in university long ago. I said, what is like, it's funny because in philosophy, I had to graduate, everyone's got to take like a philosophy class, which is kind of funny, because I think it was Solomon said that philosophy is like sleeping in a bed with a blanket that's just a little too small. There's always something left uncovered no matter what you argue and do. You can't completely answer the question, so it's futile. And he gave it to the Chachman of Athens, which would be the wise men of Athens, like the philosophers. So Solomon was before the Greeks, so he kind of said that you could argue about your belly button and eat grapes all day and olives and hang out and talk about that for forever. It's not going to accomplish things per se. You have to have an open mind, but you also have a positive solution to things. You just can't sit around and be a critic all day. I mean, you need critics, obviously, but if everyone's a critic, nothing gets done. And if the ends does not justify the means, then what does? That was Robert Moses, by the way. It's not me. I'm not paraphrasing. That's Robert Moses, which people, I don't know why, the guy was a champion to open up parks for the poor in New York. You read his history, he had no